Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the hearing to order and acknowledge that we're in Treaty 1 territory and the home and traditional lands of the Ojibwe, Cree, Dakota people, and then the national homeland of the River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Ron Merritt. I'll be your chairperson this morning. To my left is Linda McFadden, and via Zoom is Bill Maretsky. Our assessor this morning is Stephen Lubinstein, and our recording secretary is Belen Roho. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note that we'll be placed in a waiting room until the property is called upon. Then it'll be your turn to be admitted to the meeting. Kindly follow along the City of Winnipeg Border Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak in respect to your property. Once the hearing is concluded, you may leave the meeting. This morning, we'll be hearing an application for revision of assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested has been described in each application, and we'll limit discussions to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anybody speaking in these matters must be sworn in. Please be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by City Council and is independent of it, along with the city's administration. We make our decisions based on the evidence provided at this hearing and issue a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note the board decision in respect to the application may be appealed to the municipal board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to application for exemption from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information how to do so will be included in the board's order. In respect to the hearing this morning, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant. Following the swearing in, we'll then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have. It'll be then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each party will have the opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all evidence about the application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket this morning. The session will close after all applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live stream recorded. So I will ask we have only 2 items on the docket this morning. I don't have a copy of the agenda right now, so I'll just read the addresses: 1260 Border Street and 446 Brooklyn Street. These are the 2 that we have. So Mr. Rojo, can you please affirm or swear in the assessor? And we'll have the first applicant at that point. Thank you.
Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Stephen Lobenstein.
And you affirm the evidence about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Thank you very much. Wesley Van Bruggen with MNP LLP.
And you affirm the evidence about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wesley, you've been here before, I know, so you know the procedure. So we'll have the assessor take us through your property of 1260 Border Street. And I understand there might be a recommendation on that, so we will turn it over to the assessor for the time being.
Sure. So 1260 Border Street, the roll number is 0701001900. The assessed value is $1,291,000. I do have a verbal recommendation for $1,209,000. That's $1,209,000.
Wesley, are you aware of the recommendation or are you in agreement?
I am, and I am.
Okay. Ms. McFadden, any questions that you have? All right. So you're accepting the recommendation of 1,209,000?
That's correct.
All right. So that finishes your case off. So thank you for attendance and have a good day.
Thank you very much. You take care, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
Mr. Smith, we'll have you come forward and have you sworn in. And the property that you have is 446 Brooklyn Street?
Yes.
So, okay.
Please state your full name.
Trevor Smith.
And you affirm that you represent the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Yeah.
So, good morning again, Mr. Smith.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning. Stephen, you can take us through the property of 446 Brooklyn Street whenever you're ready.
Yeah. So the roll number is 0700019800, 446 Brooklyn Street. The assessed value is $1,421,000. Under the property description, the actual year built and the effective year built are 1977. There's a wall height of 18 feet. The zoning is M1 and the construction class is C, masonry bearing walls. The land area is 8,092 square feet. There's a plan area of 6,000, but a gross floor and leasable area of 8,000 square feet for a land to plan area 1.35. Onto my page 2. You can see that they are compliant, and there is a bit of a sales history. The last sale is in 2012 for $1,035,000. Going to my page 3, you can see where the property is located. It's in the St. James area, between Silver and St. Matthews, near Century. And then at the bottom of my page 3, there's a bit of an overhead look. It's a perfectly rectangular property. And then you get another view of the front and the back of the property on my page 4. You can see the overhead doors at the rear of the property. And of course the frontage at the top. So our model is based off the market. And so we look to the market for comparables for our model. So our rent comparables here on my page 5, you can see that they are on Dublin, Century, Clarence, and Barrie. So they're all in fairly close proximity to the subject property. The lease starts range from the latest lease is 2016 and the most recent lease is 2020. So it's fairly up to, it's a market lease. It's very close to the reference period of the leases. The lease terms range from, they're all actually 5 years. So that's fairly typical for the market. And the leased areas range from 1,600 square feet all the way up to 2,000 square feet. The wall heights, similar to the subject property, range from 11 to 24 feet. They bracket the property. Some are lower, some are higher. And the effective years built are similar. Some are they're in similar age category as the subject property, ranging from 1979 to 1988. And then the rents, of course, range from $10.30 all the way up to $12.50 a square foot. So this is used on our page 6 as a basis to build our model. So you can see on our page 6, we have 4 different premises, all exactly 2,000 square feet to total the 8,000 square foot of leasable area. This is how the building is broken up. They all have the exact same rent of $11.34 a square foot. We get a potential rent of $90.72. We take that $90.72, we apply a vacancy. It's 3.5%. That's pretty typical for the area. Expenses of 3%, and we're using a capitalization rate of 5.9%. So we take our capitalization rate, we apply it to our net operating income to get our capitalized value of $1,421,000. moving to my page 8, you can see our capitalization rate chart. It's the industrial charts, second from the top. You can see the 20th and the 80th percentiles range from 5.5 to 7.45. So this is on the lower end of the 20th to 80th percentile, mostly due to its size. It's a smaller building at 8,000 square feet. And then just on the final pages, you can see page 10, unfortunately, it's not rotated nicely, is the mailer. Just give me a second here. So you can see that there are tenants in this property. They have a gross income they're stating. And on my page 11, you can see the tenants, which tenants are in there, the spaces they occupy, and the rents that they pay. So we feel that the value of $1,421,000 is fair and equitable and should be confirmed. Thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Smith, questions of the assessor?
Yes, just a few. When I look at the income and expense form, Stephen, that was sent in, after deducting operating costs from their total income, they have a net income for the 2020 year of just over $52,000. And then I compare that to the city's projected NOI of $83,841. Does that not suggest that the model, or rather the rents, are on the high side?
No, I don't believe the rents are on the high side. I think the point that I'm trying to show here is that our rents are at market. When you actually look at the lease terms of the income and expense mailer here, you see they're from 2012, 2016, and the most recent one is 2019. So I'd say these rents might be a little dated. So it looks like they all end in 2021. So when they get renewed, they'll probably be back up to what the market is.
So let's skip back then the cover page. So I'm looking at the land to plan area ratio. So we have land to plan area ratio of 1.35 based on the plan area. That's certainly on the low side for an industrial property, is it not?
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that. That would definitely be on the low side. Sorry, I was just going to finish off. Although, like, due to the zoning, the M1 zoning, they don't really have the ability to store anything on the actual property itself. They can't really use the land for manufacturing like you can with M3. So it probably does make more economic sense to build out a property in this situation, to use all the land with the building, since most of the manufacturing needs to take place within a structure.
Yeah, understood. Certainly understand the zoning for the property. What I was getting at is that it's essentially filling the site, so your loading would be limited to small trucks, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, from my pictures, it looks like, yeah, I would agree that there might be a difficult turning radius behind there, although I don't have a full picture of the back. Anyways, yeah, I would agree. They would probably have to be smaller trucks to load back.
Okay, thank you. So just skipping forward quickly to your rent comparables. So subject property built in 77 with 18-foot exterior wall height, 1791 Dublin, the first two here. Built in 88 with a 24-foot wall height, dock and grade level, loading, two-story office at the front, paved loading court. That would be kind of a different animal than the subject, would it not?
I would say it's fairly typical of the market and typical of this building. It's the years built are fairly close. They're within 11 years of each other. That's very similar building standards within that time. Yeah, I would agree. The wall height is definitely higher.
Okay, that building does have a two-story office component on the front of the building, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Number 3, 530 Century Street. This is the very first building in Prudential Business Park. So if you're heading north on Route 90, where Route 90 splits off, heading north and coming south, you would essentially run into that building, correct? That would be the location of that one?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, and that particular building, 530 Century, is the two-story office building, right? With 11-foot wall height, so that would be an office lease?
I'm not too sure. That's a good question. I'll have to look.
And I'm not meaning to, catch you out here or anything. It's a bigger development, so there are those industrial bays, but this particular building is the office component.
I'll have to look into that. I thought it was part of the industrial complex.
Okay, no problem. And then just quickly, 1420 Clarence. So in a past life, I was responsible for doing the leasing in this property. It's in Fort Garry. It's small bay industrial with good loading on the back and had significant office build out in many of the units, and it tended to draw higher rental rates than the rest of the market. Is that accurate?
I'm not too sure if it draws higher rental rates than the rest of the market, but the description of your building is correct, yes.
Okay. Those are all my questions, I believe. Oh, sorry, just quickly. When I look at page 8, so looking at the main brokerages, so if we look at Industrial B, their baseline is 6%, 6.5%, 6.25%, but the model is projecting 5.9%.
Yeah, I mean, because the city of Winnipeg, we have a duty to look at all properties in the city. The brokerages don't look at these types of properties, from what I understand, and what their definitions are when they come to their capitalization rates. So yes, I mean, this would be typical for this type of building.
Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McFadden, any questions of the assessor? Thank you. Bill, do you have any questions of the assessor?
Yes, just a couple. Just looking at the rent comparables. Can you guys hear me okay there?
Yes, we can.
Yep. Well, we do that. On page 5, something that jumps out at me is the leased area for these rent comparables. They're about only 25% of the subject property. How would that influence the rent per square foot number, given the economies of scale of having a larger area?
So in terms of like the percentage, if you're talking about like, if you're looking at 1791 Dublin, does that take up 25% of the building? No, it doesn't. That's not what we're looking at. We're looking at the actual leased area. So we're looking at a range here between 1,600 to 2,000 square feet. It's fairly close. So in terms of economies of scale, it would be fairly similar to the subject property. We also look at wall height, effective year built to come up with our model rents.
So are you saying it compares then to the 1/4 of the subject property? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that we're just really looking at the leased area. We're not breaking it off the buildings into quarters, I guess I should say. It's just the leased area. We're just trying to find comparable rents for the leased areas.
But the leasable area in the subject property is 8,000.
The overall 8,000, but it's broken up into 2,000 square feet components. That's why our model on my page 6, we have it broken up into 2,000 square foot components or premises as well.
Okay.
So if we go down to the mailer, You can see they have it broken up on the mailer. This is the actual income expense mailer from the building. On my page 11, they're leasing out four premises at 2,000 square feet each. So our model is replicating that.
All right. And on your okay, thanks for the answer to that question. On your page 6, on your expenses, you have expenses ratio of 3%.
Correct.
So how did you arrive at that number of 3% for this property?
Sure. So this is typical across the board for all properties in the city of Winnipeg. What the assessment taxation department is applying, we're applying a 3% expenses. So this is for non-recoverable. So these are expenses that aren't recovered from tenants. So they would be maybe some maintenance they haven't been able to recover from tenants and things like that. So when we look, so how can I explain this is that? So our model is based off net rents. So all these rents that we're looking at on my page 5 are net of all expenses. So this is just paying for the leasable area. So they're not gross rents. And so our model on my page 6 is also net rents. Our model is based off net rents. And then we're also taking a vacancy off. We're applying a 3% expense as well. And we're applying a shortfall of $3.85 a square foot to get to our net operating income. So not only are these based off net rents that are also void of expenses, we're still taking off an extra 3% and vacancy and a shortfall.
So that net rent on page 5 then would also include the vacancy and shortfall?
No, it's just a rent of a property. It wouldn't include vacancy and it wouldn't include the shortfall. It's just the rent of what they're paying for in that building for the area they're using.
And less non-recoverables, you said, right?
Yeah, non-recoverables are like what the owner has to pay. So what's kind of what's left over at the end.
Okay, I just want to clarify though, that number, the net rent on page 5 does not include the non-recoverables, or does include the non-recoverables, sorry.
Sorry, yeah. So on my page 5, my rent comparables, it does not include non-recoverables. It's just a net rent. It's just a rent for the premise.
Okay. Yeah, that's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, your presentation, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So 446 Brooklyn Street. You look at the cover page of my document there, you can see a picture of the property from the street front. Fairly typical small bay industrial aside from the land area, which is very tight for an industrial property. Let's get into the details for the subject here. So, as already mentioned, it is zone M1, built in 1977. And we have a leasable area of 8,000 square feet, exterior wall height of 18 feet, not 16 feet, just to correct that. And our land to plan area ratio is 1.35 to 1. Now, the photos of the property begin on page number 4. So again, one of the frontage, one of the rear loading area. So you're essentially loading off of the back lane here, given the fact that the building consumes essentially the whole site. And a couple of interiors, so small office area in the front of some of the units with your warehouse area in the rear of the property. The site photo is shown on page number 6, the aerial. with, again, the loading off of the rear laneway for the subject property. So obviously that restricts the size of trucks that you can have coming and going and delivering product or taking it away, etc. The location of the subject property, so this is an important point. If you look at my page number 7, you can see where the property is located. We've got a dot indicating where it is. So in this area, so if you head north, you have St. Matthews there. If you take a left off of Century onto St. Matthews, the area to the north of St. Matthews is industrial, and the area to the south of St. Matthews is all residential. There's a school right there, as you can see, and there's one single block that's not single family residential, and that's the block that the subject property is on. So between Brooklyn and Barrie, between Silver and St. Matthews, you have a single block of non-single family homes. So this block contains this property. It contains a number of other single occupant, older industrial properties. And it also has a number of multifamily properties fronting on Barrie Street. So it's essentially isolated in this location. It's not in a standard industrial area. If you move north across St. Matthews, that area is significantly older industrial area in the city of Winnipeg. Generally older properties, generally lower ceiling heights, smaller land area, restricted loading, all of those kind of things. So that particular area does match with the subject, but it's again isolated where it is. Let's move on to the valuation. So again, I just like to highlight, I guess, if we look at the income and expense form for the subject property, and I realize mine might be a bit fuzzy from the scan, so I will just direct you to the city's version, which is on pages 10 and 11. If you look at page 10, you can see that the property is indicated that the leases are gross. And when you look at the rental income, it indicates the rental income at $94,000 gross, and it has no recoveries. And at the bottom, your total income is $94,000. So that's the gross figure. You then deduct all of the operating costs in the center column. And for the subject year, they came down to a net operating income of just under $53,000. This compares to the city's projection for the subject property of $83,841 based on market rents. But I think it's pretty clear as an investor, if you're purchasing a property, you're looking at the revenue that's in place on that property, and with a slight eye to what you may achieve in the future as well. But you're certainly basing your purchase largely on what you're getting at the time of sale. So let's look at the valuation for the subject property. Looking at my page number 10, I have given you a chart of the leases for the subject property with 4 units, all 2,000 square feet. The rental rates that I have there are net of operating costs. So the way I've done this is by deducting the operating costs from the gross rental rate. So unit number 1, gross rental rate is actually $18.29. Deduct the operating costs from that, and we get to a net rental rate of $12.96. Same goes true for the remainder of the units there. So our net rental rates in the subject property range between $7.15 and a high of $12.96 for a single unit that has more office space. The overall average comes to $8.90 a square foot, and the net rent would be $71,180. Now, this is indicative of the area that it's in. Again, they're smaller, older properties that generally draw lower rents. So let's look at the market and see if the rents that are in place are appropriate. I've given you my study of the market on page number 10 in comparison to the subject. So our first property is located in the St. Boniface Industrial Park, 45 Big End. It's a relatively modern development in the St. Boniface Industrial Park, built in 1990, 22-foot exterior wall height, multi-tenant building, good loading court, lots of rooms for trucks to maneuver, and we have a rent of $9 a square foot at that property for, granted, significantly larger property or unit at 12,303 square feet. Number two, this is certainly a good comp. This is 530 Berry, built in 1967, a little lower wall height at 14 foot. It's a multi-tenant building. 2018 lease for $8.95 a square foot for 2,250 square feet. Certainly in the immediate area. 1222 Sherwin, a little bit further north in North St. James Industrial there, 1875 square feet, 2020 lease for $8.80 a square foot, 1,800, built in 67, 17-foot wall height, so very comparable to the subject at 18 feet. Again, multi-tenant. All of these properties are multi-tenant. 1100 Waverly is in Fort Garry. This is the Fort Garry Business Center, built in 73 to 75, 20-foot wall height, $8.75 in 2019. Significantly superior building in a better location. I'm not going to run through all of them here. If you look at the remainder of them, these are all multi-tenant properties. Generally, we're trying to keep the leases in the same size range as the subject and have them as close to the valuation date as possible, and be as comparable in as many aspects as we can. So if you look at the dates, they range between 62 and 88. And generally the wall heights are in that 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 range. So our overall net rents range for the comparables is between $7.25 a square foot for property at 42 Durand in St. Boniface Industrial, built in 80, 2020 lease at $7.25, up to the high of 45 Bay again in St. Boniface Industrial for a superior property. So our range certainly supports the rents for the in-place rents for the subject property. If you look at the dates of these leases, they're all 2017 through 2020, generally 2019, 2018, 2020. So we believe that the in-place rental rates are reflective of what would be achieved for that property in that location. So we're using the in-place rents, 71,180 is our rental rate. And move on to the expenses. We're using a vacancy rate of 3.5%. As yes, matching yesterday, Mr. Chair, I'll leave it up to your discretion whether everybody wants to hear a discussion of expense allowance. I think everybody has heard from me on this particular topic. Suffice it to say, we are using a combined 7% for the expense allowance versus the city of Winnipeg's 3%. Happy to answer any questions. Our shortfall is $3.85 a square foot. And we can move on to capitalization rate on page number 14. So I've given you 5 market comparables. These were all properties that were investment sales. They were purchased for the in-place income and expense. And you can see the range of capitalization rates for these from a low of 6.6% up to a high of 7.8%. Now, they will vary in terms of comparability, obviously, to the subject property, as well as location, age of the structure, etc. But it gives you a good indication of the investment appetite for industrial property in the city. The commercial brokerages are again indicating ranges of a low end of 6% up to 7.25% for investment grade industrial assets. Now, subject property probably would not be contained within those studies that the main brokerages do, just given the size of the property. There will be slightly more investors that would be out there for a property of this size. We do recognize that. And we've applied a capitalization rate of 6%. So again, if we look at the baseline for the brokerages, they're indicating a low end of 6%. Our cap rate study is generally indicating higher cap rates in the 7% range. So we've recognized the smaller nature of this particular investment asset and given it a 6% cap. This gives us our final value of $1,047,000. And that is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Levenstein, questions of Mr. Smith?
Yeah, just a few. On your page 18, the mailer, I think I covered this sort of before. I just wanted to reiterate. The lease end dates are fairly similar or very close to the reference date of April 1st, 2021. So when they renew these leases, do you believe that they're going to renew them for a higher rent per square foot?
That depends on the market, of course, right? So they will, of course, renew them at what the market will bear for that particular property. So when we look at the rental comparables that I've provided on page number 10, they are pretty close to what the subject is actually achieving for generally superior property. So that's essentially what I see.
Okay. So, but typically in our market right now, are we seeing industrial rents increasing? Year after year?
Typically, as a general trend, we are seeing industrial rates increase, yes. That's, of course, property dependent. Lots of larger, higher ceilinged distribution centers are going for significantly greater rents, etc.
Okay. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda, questions of Mr. Smith? Bill, questions of Mr. Smith?
I couldn't hear Linda there.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Sure. No, I don't have any questions.
Either. Summation either party?
I have no summation.
All right. I think that concludes your part, Mr. Smith. So have a pleasant day. Results very soon.
Thank you very much.
Stephen, I think that concludes our hearing. So we have heard all the items scheduled and this hearing is now adjourned. So thank you very kindly, Stephen.
Okay, thank you.